Hello, I'm Nyeema Watson, a White Riley Peterson Fellow for 2012-2013, and I will be discussing my policy project in the state of New Jersey. I work at Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, on the Camden campus as the Director of Public School Partnerships, and I have worked with the New Jersey School Age Care Coalition, which is our Mott-funded after-school network in the state of New Jersey, on my project for this past year. The mission of NJSAC is to promote the expansion and development of high-quality out-of-school time programs for children and youth across the state of New Jersey, and they've been doing this for over 30 years. With this being the mission of NJSAC, I was asked to really focus my efforts for my policy project on looking specifically at out-of-school time programs that are run and operated by school buildings and school personnel throughout the state of New Jersey. New Jersey has about 2,500 K-12 schools, and there are thousands of out-of-school time programs throughout the state that operate before school, after school, and summertime in school buildings, and they are developed by school personnel. But there's really not a comprehensive policy in the state of New Jersey, nor a set of standards that guide how such programs are run and operated. There are numerous public and private funding streams that support these school-based programs, but with each funding stream, there are different responsibilities and priorities, and none of them really align. So you have some school-run programs that have to adhere to staff and student ratios. You have some school programs that have to adhere to certain program activities that they have to implement. You have some school-based programs that have to pay attention to certain indoor and outdoor environments because their funding stream is asking them to, but by and large, school programs that are run by school personnel do not have to carry the same standards as school programs run by community-based organizations or nonprofit organizations, because these organizations in the state of New Jersey need to be licensed. So for the licensed programs in the state, there are mandatory guidelines on staff and student ratios, on quality activities, on indoor-outdoor environments, and health and safety precautions. So NJSAC wanted to work on a project that would really kind of highlight this inequity between school-based programs and nonprofit community-based programs to try to create a pathway of quality that would encompass all programs. So understanding the importance of after school and knowing that it could have a really positive impact on children and youth, and that a lot of them do participate in school-based programs, that's what I've worked on for the past year. In addition to working with NJSAC and their Executive Director, Diane Janko, I have also worked with the New Jersey Joint Committee on Public Schools and their Executive Director, Melanie Schultz. The Joint Committee on Public Schools is a committee that is comprised of 14 members of the New Jersey Legislature, with appointments made by the Senate President and the Speaker of the New Jersey General Assembly. In December 2012, Assemblywoman Connie Wagner held an open meeting of the Joint Committee to discuss expanded learning before school and after school programs in the state of New Jersey. Diane Janko, the Executive Director of NJSAC, presented. Sue Martz, the Director who oversees the 21st Community Learning Centers from the New Jersey Department of Education, presented, as well as a host of others, including the National Summer Learning Institute and examples of programs that exist in the state of New Jersey, like the Boys and Girls Clubs and the YMCA. They all got to express the successes of different out-of-school time programs in the state of New Jersey, and also some of the challenges that existed. So this issue of school-based programs that are run by school personnel was something that Diane brought up as an area that the Joint Committee should really pay attention to. The most significant takeaway from this 5-hour committee hearing was that the legislators were not aware that school-based programs really did not have to abide by a set of standards or a certain set of policies and procedures to run their after-school programs. So they asked at the end of this committee meeting that some recommendations be put forth as to how, as a committee, they could support examining this issue and making recommendations on how to really kind of highlight school-based practices and align them with better quality standards. So this is where I came in. So in January, we were able to begin meeting with the executive director of the New Jersey Joint Committee on Public Schools, Melanie Schultz, Diane Janko, and I, to start discussing what could be done at the state level to really advocate for changes in policies as it relates to school-based programs. Again, we were not trying to say that the out-of-school time programs that are run by school personnel are of a lower quality, or that school programs were not really abiding by anything that was quality, but we wanted to start having a conversation about how can we get the entire state of New Jersey to speak with the same language when they're talking about quality out-of-school time programs. So from this committee meeting, and then the follow-up meeting we had with Melanie Schultz, we invited Melanie to come to the Mott After School meeting that was held in February 2013. I had the opportunity to really sit down and talk to her about the work of my policy project, and we also had the opportunity to go and hear from a couple of different states about their approaches to really looking at the issues of out-of-school time programs within their state. We were able to speak to representatives from California about the approach that they took in terms of creating an advisory committee at the state level to look at these issues. We were also able to speak with and meet with Senator Tom McGee from Massachusetts and the great work that he's been doing there at really focusing state effort and attention on creating quality out-of-school time programs. And from that, we were able to draft a plan as to next steps for the state of New Jersey and how I could use this time as a policy fellow to really help move this initiative forward. So since that point in February, I have been researching California, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and other states that created these advisory commissions and councils to really look at issues of out-of-school time throughout their state. And I began drafting some language for Melanie that outlined some of the issues she could take up in creating a commission in the state of New Jersey. The one thing I would say about this whole process is, even though I'm presenting it in a somewhat linear way, it hasn't been a really linear or quick process. The New Jersey School Age Care Coalition really had been working for years advocating to elected officials, advocating to policymakers on quality out-of-school time programs in New Jersey. They've been working hand in hand with the New Jersey Department of Education and the 21st Century Program since the 21st Century Program was handed to the states to work with. They have been providing updates consistently to elected officials and policymakers about the current state of after-school and out-of-school time in New Jersey, offering them up information, research, best practices to keep this issue on their radar. So when I came to this project, they had really laid all of the groundwork for this, and Diane had really worked with Melanie and built a relationship with her to even get the opportunity to present at this open committee meeting in December. So when I came on board, it was really to do more of the legwork and the research and the analysis of the policies to help figure out what could be done here in the state of New Jersey. But the hardest part was really already done for me. So over the past couple of weeks, I've sent draft documents to Melanie Schultz at the Joint Committee on Public Schools and laid out a framework on how some legislation could be drafted to create an out-of-school time advisory council in the state of New Jersey. Some of the ideas and recommendations I put into the draft policy was to talk about the makeup of the committee. It's important to have elected officials, but also it's important to have representation from across the state, from advocates and constituents, so from program providers, library associations, colleges and universities, teens who actually participate in out-of-school time programs. Those were some of the ideas I gave around recommendation from members that was built on looking at what other states had done. As for the charge of the committee, I let them know that a lot of what has gone on in other states is really not only just assessing what currently takes place, but trying to move the needle forward in terms of quality. this past year and for about 18 months, NJSAC, through their MOT funding, has been working on creating quality standards for out-of-school time programs in the state of New Jersey. So one of the areas I think would be interesting for this commission that's going to be developed in New Jersey is to figure out, to look at these recommendations for quality standards and see how schools can align their programs with quality standards that are out there and exist, that program providers are already really using in their daily practices. All the 21st century programs throughout the state of New Jersey are currently using these programs. Many of the community-based organizations and nonprofit organizations that worked on this project for the past 18 months in helping to draft this legislation have already started to embed the quality standards into their programs. So again, this could be an opportunity of having the schools really have a step-by-step understanding of what constitutes quality, from professional development and staff training, research-based, engaging and lively program activities, indoor-outdoor environments, staff who really are engaging, who can work with children in a really focused way in the out-of-school time hours, and what that type of staff looks like are all things that are outlined in the quality standards. And in the draft language, I also provided some information on just what the term out-of-school time means, because it means different things for different people. So we're not necessarily talking about the football team or the softball team that takes place after school, but really looking at the elementary and middle school level of the comprehensive after-school programs that take there, the academic enrichment programs, the recreational programs, the arts programs. Again, how can you, if you're a school-based personnel, construct these programs with quality standards in mind? Throughout this process, I've been able to work with Kathy Stevens and Ron Fairchild to really help give me some research and some background on what some other states have done. So that's been really useful. So for the policy fellows that are coming up, I would certainly say not only reaching out to your other fellows for ideas and suggestions, but also reaching out to Kathy and Ron because they have a wealth of experience. So thank you guys for helping me out. So as I prepare for the end of my fellowship, I do want to say the work is not over just because the year is up with the policy fellowship. I will see this process through of drafting the legislation for the creation of this committee through to completion. After we edit a final draft of this in 2 weeks, I'll be meeting with Melanie Schultz again and Assemblywoman Wagner to get her thoughts and recommendations to see if the draft of the legislation is at the point where she would be able to bring it forward to the Joint Committee to get their stamp of approval on it before we pass this along to the full legislative body. And our hopes are that we can finish that work over the summertime so that it can be voted on early in the fall. So for all of the new policy fellows that are coming on board, I have 2 pieces of advice. As you develop and work on your policy projects, don't be intimidated. In the beginning, this was an extremely daunting task for me. I had never really thought of policy on my own to try to develop on the state level, but it was really working through my after-school network that gave me the resources and gave me the guidance on how to do this and to really take a project that they were already working on and help them see that through. And then secondly, I would say change is slow. So stick with it throughout the year. You may have some stops and starts. You may want things to move more quickly than they already do. But if you work on something that you're passionate about, you will continue to have the motivations to stay with the project. So I say good luck. And if you ever need anything, you can certainly reach out to me. Have a good day.